Hold on. We got here in time. We've managed to start 5 minutes after scheduled time. I can't guarantee, guys, that I'm always going to be here during this show, but my two co-hosts will keep everything going, I'm sure. I've got the Sunday Night Blues, Connection Blues. Oh, my God.
It's all happening. I'm sure we'll get through it. But you missed your main line at the start, mate. TikTok.
Don't worry about that, mate. TikTok, it's time to rock.
Quite literally.
Yeah, look, no, seriously, guys, if I do drop out, continue the show. We've got Arvin in the chat, so he's always fast in, into the, the starters gates. Looking forward to this show. Brad's going to do the presentation, followed by Simon, which is good. We've got some photos. We've got some tone tips. Has the Rock Professor got anything this week or this year or this month or anything like that?
I got some things for this month. Yeah. It's
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. We've got Ellen here too. You might realize that Simon sounds a little bit funny, and it's not because he's got the flu or anything like that, or he's got the lurgy, or he's suffering because he had a few pints last night. It's because he's having to adapt to technology.
This is I don't know. I'll show this. See if you can. I don't know whether I can make it. Oh, that's better. Can you see that? Look, this is my setup for today.
Wow. The ironing board. The ironing board comes in handy, doesn't it?
The PV Delta Blues is my tea bedside table. See, look at that. Oh, it's gone. Come back a bit.
It's going to sleep.
It's gone to sleep.
I was going to sleep. Bloody.
Wake up.
So
anyway, that's the.
You're giving away the mystique of the show, Simon.
Yeah, I know. See, yes, behind the magic.
Yeah, so everyone thinks you've got some magic setup there, and you've just shown you've got an ironing board.
Today, I've got an ironing board. My wife has gone car booting. She went car booting an hour ago. God, I don't know what time it starts, but it's quite extraordinary. So she took my table, leaving me with nothing. Good morning, Ellen. How are you? Morning, Hugh.
Well, it could be worse. She could have taken the kitchen sink too.
Or the kettle. She could have taken the kettle. That would have been worse, for sure.
The kettle. Jeepers, the kettle.
She could have taken my guitar cases as display cases for the bric-a-brac she's about to sell. Good morning, Quentin James.
Yeah, goddamn hippie. The goddamn hippie's in the house.
Sonia. Hello, Sonia. How are you? I hope you're good.
Oh, surprise. Sonia's here. We knew that Sonia would be here, didn't we? We said it. We called it.
Yes.
So, what have you been doing this week, guys? What's been going on in your worlds?
Been busy.
Are you still in lockdown, Brad? Are you still
upstairs? Yeah, still in lockdown. They've just lightened up restrictions a bit, but still, gigs are cancelled, gyms are shut. A bit ridiculous when you consider there's no cases, but we're not going to, I'm not going to go political at this point, but hopefully next week we'll see some relief, I'm hoping. And I've been doing an online course at the moment. I'm into my second week next week, so that's consuming me a lot, which is but it's in a good way. I'm learning a lot, which is fantastic. And obviously I've been busy this week with some shows. This week we did the midweek one. Just last minute we decided to do an album that Warren always wanted us to cover. So Andrew and I were talking about doing a midweek show, and I just said, hey, let's just do it for him. So we did that, and that was a lot of fun. And the 5150 show yesterday was great. and I'm really looking forward to this one. This is like the icing on the cake for the week.
Yeah, good show yesterday. I did watch.
Yeah,
Wake up.
it was very good, and
Yeah.
you know, Kurt was extremely passionate about that record, which you know, understandably so. So it was fantastic to hear his passion and love for that album. So
Yeah, getting so close to his guitar build as well, isn't he? That's really good.
well, he's been sharing a lot, you know, private messaging what he's doing with it, and I'm just looking forward to doing, like, even if him and Andrew just jump on one and do a show one day, looking forward to seeing the progress stuff. Like he's been taking progress photos and whatnot along the way, which it's so exciting to watch it come together. I'm really happy for him and extremely proud of him for, you know, sharing his little journey with this as well. So good on you, Kurt. We're looking forward to seeing this finished product, man. It's looking damn fine. Actually, to be honest with you, the Bumblebee is probably my favorite striped guitar, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the finish of it.
Morning, Brook Street. That's a new name. Hi, and welcome. How you doing? Teresa, Maria, good morning. How are you? Hope you're good. We're all good here.
How about yourself, Simon? You've been busy?
I've been busy, yeah. Well, clearly, yes. I'm one of the lucky ones who kind of, you know, I just work from home. So I'm, you know, really lucky from that point of view. I just carry on with my work life. That consumes me. Plus, taxiing my daughters around, you know, which is that's the punishment you get for living in the country. Everything's 5 miles away, and you have to transport them because they can't drive, which is annoying. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the main thing I have done this week. This is a piece of craziness. Almost is that there's a fan-made documentary about Born in the USA,
Right.
made by a bloke called Dennis. Let me get his name right. Dennis Laverty, he's called, right? It's 7.5 hours long.
Holy moly!
I've watched it all. It's astonishing. What it does is it takes almost every single date of his world tour that he did in '85, massive world tour, a piece of craziness. Didn't really get the sort of, you start looking at it, you get how big it actually was. You do 7 nights at the Meadowlands and play to 350,000 people. You know, it's just enormous. But every concert, you'll have a bit of, like, because all the local news, you know, will do a piece about him coming to town and doing a gig. So you'll have that, and then you'll have a shot, a song from the gig. So all the way through, it's fantastic. If you're into that, it's an astonishing piece of, you know, sort of social history in a way. You know, you see people queuing up for tickets. You see people camping out in the days when you camped out for tickets outside malls, outside, you know, record shops and malls. Which I can remember. I did that for Led Zeppelin. You know, stayed up, you know, camped out all night outside a record shop, Virgin Records in Bristol.
Wow.
Tickets. So I remember all of that. Yeah, the queues of people stretching as far as the eye can see, and yeah, and then their little stories about where they've come from and things. Yeah, and he's obviously, I mean, painstakingly put it together. You know, clearly gone through, you know, millions and millions of, you know, fan footage, all sorts of. I don't know where he got it from, but it's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
You know, the actual, if you could think that if you could have that for a Van Halen thing, it would be an astonishing piece of film, you know.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, if you could get, there seem to be lots of film of, you know, every song on the tour, even sort of like minor obscure things you managed to find, you know, performances of things, actual film, you know, on YouTube. I presume it's on
Yeah.
You may have gone through somewhere else, but yeah, you can imagine if you know, John Biel, the great, we could get him onto it. John Biel, get on, do this. This is a fantastic, you know, for all those Van Halen fans. Can you imagine having all of that? You know, so you do whatever but I don't know what their biggest tour was, but you know, you get the tour and then see if you can find fan clips, news clips, and songs from that, basically, and then do it for each one. And then the central piece they had was a piece from a long interview from MTV.
Right.
You know, but he hasn't. What's brilliant about it is he hasn't worried about the quality, because the MTV recording quality is clearly for a VHS tape. It's terrible, but, the sound is all there, but it's like really white in the background, and it's not, the colours are not brilliant. But he's just put it in because it's a fan interest thing, not how high quality thing can I get. So
wow.
yeah, it's a piece of ridiculousness far beyond. But yes, it is. I think it'd be great for if you use that format for other groups, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah,
a real deep dive into the tour, the songs, what goes on. They got film of them fans outside a bar that he's filming Glory Days video in and stuff like that. Just little clips of it and stuff. Yeah, it's really good. So,
that's awesome.
That's 7.5 hours of my week.
Wow. How about yourself, Andrew? What have you been up to?
Yeah.
Oh, nothing interesting, mate. Nothing interesting. Just the shows that we've done that you've outlined. That's always good. I don't think we've got anything planned midweek this week. So, but who knows? Who knows what we might conspire behind the scenes? Everybody, I've got to let you guys know too. I got an email yesterday after the Van Halen 5150 show from Warren saying that he's okay. He's certainly going to be tapping into the Rev because he's going to buy an EVH guitar with the Floyd Rose. So we have that effect on people. He brought a Clapton Strat. Now he's buying an EVH guitar. So good on him. And he's also just about to finished. Hold on, guys.
Finished.
He's just about finished Clapton's biography, so that's always good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, beautiful. Well done, Warren.
Yeah, and he said that he'll join us too, hopefully at some stage during the chat, and seems to be doing okay. So that's good.
Cool.
And everybody in the chat that keeps in touch with Warren, just again also pass on our regards always to him.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic news. Always good to hear.
Yeah. We should take a morning to Mark Tanner and, of course, the mighty Nelson Rodriguez. Good morning, Nelson. So, yeah. It's the build's a really interesting thing, aren't they? Really interesting. Yeah. So, doing those and getting into it. I'm glad, if Kurt's inspired somebody else, that's fantastic. Really
that's
good.
Fantastic. So today's topic, Black Sabbath. Paranoid. I have to say, I haven't listened to this album for a long time, maybe a year or two, maybe, because I've been doing a lot of other deep diving on things we do and haven't had the free time to sit back and listen to it. But wow, what an album. That's an absolute classic. What do you guys think? I mean, for me, it just took me back to when I first started learning guitar, and it's just one of those albums. There's so much in it that's just jam-packed with goodness.
Yeah, took me back to 1972 when I went to see them.
Yeah. So they were right in their prime in that 70, 72 era.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Second concert I ever went to.
Yeah, wow. Did it scare the living daylights out of you?
No, I don't think so. No.
Apparently everyone used to be like, love it so much, but scared at the same time because of how doomy they were and everything like that. It was obviously, just the persona they put on, but
we're too stupid. Well, I like the doom a lot, and especially as a doom-laden 14-year-old. What you want is doom. Absolutely, So. Yeah. Right up what I wanted, where I was in my 14-year-old life, and what I wanted to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think from my experience, though, Black Sabbath didn't really develop that cult thing about them being live evil and all that kind of stuff until a little bit later on. And I've got to be careful what I say here because some of the lyrics that they were talking about, like a lot of things, were taken by conservative elements in North America, maybe from the UK as well. and used as an example about how they need to control music, and and they started perhaps, I think, loading a lot of messages and stories behind Black Sabbath, which aren't true, because if you sit back and listen and read some of the biographies and some of the books and interviews by the guys themselves, I'll tell you that it's just absolute bullshit.
Yeah. Well, like there's some wonderful interviews now. I mean, there's so much that we could go into. Like I have had to cull so much of my notes just to make a nice flow for the show, basically, because there's so much information out there, which is fantastic. I mean, I wish there was this much information out there on other albums that I love so much. But there's some wonderful interviews. There's one on Gibson TV. I think it was the end of last year. Tony Iommi did a big interview. It goes for over an hour. Oh, yeah. That's fantastic. I think we should share the link to that at some point. Maybe in the section after the show, we'll put a link in there. I don't know if anyone's seen the classic albums version of Paranoid. Like, say, each of the band members are going through the songs and things like that. Have you guys seen that at all? The classic albums, Paranoid album?
Yeah. Not recently. I didn't have any time to see it to prepare for this show, but I was hoping that at least one of us would.
Yeah. So I mean, I've watched it countless times. I'm a massive Sabbath fan from way back. Even when I got my license and started driving my first car, I actually had my first car accident listening to Black Sabbath, and I thought it was because of the music why I had the accident, to be honest with you. But anyway, for me, it was watching that classic album thing again. Is a lot of the information in there is just straight from the guy's mouths, you know what I mean? So it's really worth watching that. If you haven't, I highly recommend watching it. So do you guys want to get into the album, or have you got anything else you guys want to talk about?
I don't know, but this is the second time Girth's asked for it, so maybe we should just answer the question. He wants to say 1999.
1999.
1999.
Does that make you happy, Girth?
It's very happy now that we're
say here we go. You might have to get something out.
I just said it. DVD.
DVD.
Looks like we might be getting raided.
Yes. Oh, we're getting raided. You sure about that?
Well, I don't know. Could be.
Could be a one-man Girth raid.
Oh, Jesus. Unbelievable. Oh, well, I'm happy to dive into this album if you guys are.
Yeah.
I say we get into it. It's a great little album. 8 songs. We'll dive straight into it. With the success of their first album, Black Sabbath, which is their debut album, they returned into the studio with producer Roger Bain in 1970, just 4 months after the release of their first album. Paranoid was recorded at Regent Studios in Island Studios in London, England. It was released on 18th of September 1970. They spent from the 16th to the 21st of June recording the album. Now that's amazing. Think about that. That's just outrageous. That just goes to show how together the band were and how, the chemistry obviously was there. The sales were enhanced by the success of the Paranoid single. Tony Iommi quoted, "The single attracted screaming kids. We saw people dancing when we played it, and we decided we shouldn't do singles for a long while after that to stay true to the fans who liked us before we became popular." So that kind of sets the mood for the band. They were all about, going a little bit against the grain, doing things a little bit different. Paranoid's US release was delayed until January 1971. The Black Sabbath album was still in the charts at the time because of its UK release. Paranoid reached number 12 in the US in March in 1971 with virtually no radio airplay. The radios wouldn't play this stuff. The Paranoid's chart success allowed the band to tour the US for the first time in October 1970, which spawned the release of the album's second single, Iron Man, which failed to reach the top 40. Iron Man remains one of Black Sabbath's most popular songs, though. The Paranoid single is the band's highest chart-selling US single. The album Paranoid is Black Sabbath's best-selling album, having sold over 1.6 million copies in the US alone. It defined the sound and style of heavy metal than more than any other record in rock history. Most of the songs on Paranoid were evolved during onstage improvised jams, and Tony Iommi recalls that War Pigs came from one of the club jams. It was just in the middle of Warning, which is on Black Sabbath, the debut album, that they just started to jam that out, and he just started going dun, and then they just started jamming, and that's where that whole idea originated from. So as we go through these songs, you'll understand that a lot of this stuff was evolved from jams and coming out of things that they did in live performances. The album was meant to be called War Pigs, so the photo of a man dressed as a pig with a sword was already done, but the record company didn't think the title would work, so last minute they changed it to Paranoid, and they didn't change the album artwork. So interestingly enough, that's why the album cover doesn't really make sense, but it's a cool album cover, really, when you think about it. I don't know if you want to show the photos there, Andrew. Yeah, excellent. Good timing. So there's the album cover that's so iconic. The guy just dressed as a pig with a sword. Makes no sense at all. And that's the back cover. It's got the track listing in the side 1, side 2 up in the top corner there, but very iconic album cover. I mean, it's the minute you see that, I've seen T-shirts with the front of that album cover, and it's a selling point. People are buying it because of the. What did you guys think about the album? Have you got anything to elaborate on that? What I've introduced there. Anyone in the chat too? We want to hear your opinions. Tell us what you think of the record and how it influenced you. If you're a musician, if it influenced you as well. We love to hear stories there.
Oh yeah, look, 7 over 8. Good morning, Jay.
So you actually went and saw them, Simon, in 1972.
Did I what?
You went to see them in 1972, Simon.
Oh, yeah, it's as I've said on here quite a few times that I went to see them in my local municipal hall, the Colston Hall in Bristol, where everyone played. Because that was the circuit. There was a circuit of municipal halls in every city in the UK, pretty much. And all bands, there weren't any, remember this is pre-arena stuff, pre-stadium things. I know they were saying that we should get a T-shirt which says 10 out of 10 and never a skip. I think it's a fantastic idea. Really, really cool idea. Anyway, thank you. I don't think we'll have that. Thank you, Donald.
Sorry, guys. Internet connection or something.
No, it's
no problem.
I was just I was just saying about that. We used to have a chain of municipal halls. Every city, basically in the UK, you went to had a municipal hall. So Birmingham, Bristol, Manchester. Leicester, the famous Leicester de Montfort Hall. And you always culminated at the Hammersmith Odeon in London. That's how it worked. You go around the country. And Colston Hall was on that list. And so I went to see lots of gigs at the Colston Hall. And Black Sabbath was my second gig at the Colston Hall.
Wow.
After the ignominy of going to see Gary Glitter, which was my first ever concert. I had to redeem myself swiftly, looking into the future, and so I went and I do remember. I mean, he wore this kind of long, this jacket, Ozzy. Well, the first thing that was like, even then he was quite sort of, solid bloke. He didn't look like a sort of, one of the skinny rock star type thing. He looked like rather sort of chunky bloke from Birmingham.
Well, he was.
Chunky bloke from Birmingham, yes, which is exactly what he is. Yeah, but sort of. You could put him in a buckskin jacket, which couldn't take the Birmingham out of the Brummie out of Birmingham, but not Birmingham out of the Brummie. It's and of course because he sounds like that as well. Good from Birmingham, It's just there's just something slightly incongruous about it. But as you probably know, Birmingham is called the Black Country. That's what it's called. That area of the Midlands is called the Black Country. Yep. And kind of that kind of industrial sound that they had then is completely in keeping with where they came from. Exactly. I can remember those. I mean, he describes it, and they describe it as like the steam and steel making and lots of manufacturing and hitting things, loud noises and steam. So it's amazing. So yeah, they were great. I mean, they were clearly tremendous fun. I think that's kind of he's an amazing frontman, jumping around and kind of as I say in a slightly loony fashion.
I always loved his, come on.
Yes, and all of that. So I think that they were amazing fun, and I don't think most people that I knew, we quite a lot of into Sabbath at that stage, and I don't think anybody took all the sort of satanic stuff seriously. I think there was some. Clearly we saw that there was some substance to the songs and the lyrics. They did talk about something, but I don't think we thought to ourselves, my God, we must keep away from them. They're all devil-worshipping monsters. I don't think anybody, no normal fans thought that at all.
Oh, look, no different from the Hammer House of Horror films that you guys used to get on a Friday night there every week. So, yeah.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, yes, absolutely. So I don't think anybody took any notice of that sort of thing. I think the press like to, get. Yes, absolutely. But I mean, the other thing I'd say, Brad, is that thing you talked about. They recorded it in 20 minutes. Of course, that still went on for that. Most of those late 60s, early 70s records were rehearsed, and then you went in and then you recorded them. And it wasn't a load. Wasn't. I think you can hear it if you listen to the album. It's not detrimental to it. It's just that it doesn't have. It is quite a plain record. It's got guitars, bass, drums, singing. And it hasn't got 75 multi-tracks of guitars, and it doesn't have and all multi-track harmony singing and all of that stuff that takes a lot of time. It doesn't have any of that. It is a product of them and where they came from as much as anything else. It's kind of like quite plain industrial sounding, and a sound all of their own.
Yeah.
Nobody. I don't think nobody sounds like it now, really, do they? And they certainly didn't sound like it then.
No.
There was no band that sounded like that. Absolutely, had that unique sound. Amazingly, astonishingly, and you have to give credit, however kind of Renus, stop that annoying. However much of it's like a cartoon kind of band they've sort of become, Lee Ozzy's become a bit of a cartoon figure, isn't he? Kind of, with his reality shows and stuff like that. Then, they had a particular sound, they had a view, and they trod their own path.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of bands you can't say that about. So I think there's a huge kudos to them for sticking to their vision, sticking to what they did, to the sound and the thing, and and making that a unique thing for them. There's no mistaking it, is there? No mistaking it for somebody else. There's no kind of head scratching about, oh, is that so and so, or is that so and so? It's two notes, and that's Iommi. It's not anybody else, is it? And it's so I really take my hat off to them for that. And anybody who can create their own sound like that is 10 out of 10 from me for starters.
Yeah.
Never a skip. But,
so should we get into the rankings of the songs, guys, or what do you reckon? Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for me, I know the lyrical content might be something that you guys might get into. So I'm going to talk about the songs, like how I listen to them, and basically what they mean to me, and why I ranked them the way I have. Lyrically, obviously, War Pigs is. I mean, it's a song that's based around. Everyone sort of thought it was more satanic, but I think it had more of a war connotations to it. It's got a very scary, spooky intro, intense bass playing and rhythm on the drums. It's like infectious. It's got an air raid siren, which is, the Johnny Bean raid air raid siren. It adds to the anxiety feeling that the song's got, and then the song obviously kicks in with that dun, and from the first line, the overall tone of the song is there, generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Ozzy's vocals are fantastic. He's a young guy, obviously untrained vocalist, but he sung perfectly for this band. And in this early era, there was just no one really doing what Black Sabbath were doing, obviously. The song takes off on a bit of a journey. It's intense. There's power. There's riffing. There's power chords. There's trills from Tony Iommi. They're filling all the little gaps. The drums are unbelievable. Bill Ward is just one of the most amazing drummers. And this period of time, we were blessed with some amazing drummers. It's that late 60s, early 70s period. There were some phenomenal drummers. And I still think Bill Ward was right up there in comparison to all of them. Tony's playing on guitar is it's insane for me. The double track solo weaving left and right, it's like game changing. I mean, at that era and time, I can't think of anyone else was doing what Tony Iommi was doing. And a little later on, we might go into, his why his techniques and everything are the way they are because of the accident he had and things like that. For me, the outro solos are beautiful. The way the song speeds up at the end is classic.
Yes.
There's so much intensity and power within one song. It's a 20 out of 10 for me. It's never a skip. Simon, I think you're next.
I think I'm next. Yeah. Apparently, I read that just a bit more that it was intended. War Pigs was intended to be called Walpurgis.
Yep.
And and they changed it to War Pigs, which the band intended to name the album until it was changed to Paranoid after the record company became convinced that the song of the same name had a potential as a hit single. But he explained in that classic album, I wanted to write a song called Walpurgis, but about the satanic version of Christmas. Write about it, that Satan isn't the spiritual thing; it's warmongers. That's who the real Satanists are. All these people are running the banks in the world, and they're trying to get the working classes to fight the wars for them. So, clearly quite a sort of big message in there, certainly working class kind of message as well. And we sent it off to the record company and they said, no, we're not going to call it that. Which is jolly good fun. I think that, that clearly in that is a lot of stuff about, the class references to the Vietnam War and things, because that was going on at the time. It was the big thing at the time. And they decided, Geezer Butler, who wrote the lyrics, decided to, to put that in, really. It was their thing. Fitted the remit perfectly, but also, is a bit of a social commentary song, which I think a lot of people miss from Sabbath, completely. Which is,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Do you know what? One of the things I'd forgotten. Two things, but about Sabbath, particularly this album, but it's the way that Ozzy and Tony will play the melody line as Ozzy's singing it. They do it together. I can't think of anybody else who does that.
There's,
they do that, don't they?
There's a couple of songs moving forward where I highlight that as well, and I thought that was something very unique to the band, where Ozzy and the guitar riff would almost be in unison, like what they're doing. Slight variations, but together. You know what I mean? So
yeah, completely. Yeah. That's what Mark's saying. I'm a bit quiet, which is the first time it's ever been said about me. Is that better, Mark? Just a bit of a try. So, yeah, I think that's really interesting to me. The other thing that I sort of wrote when I was listening to it, that they'll do something. I think get a riff and they'll do something, and then the verse will come in and do something completely different.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, that's not what you were just playing just now. It's just like, and that's what amazed me as well. They would. They'd have a bit where it was like a different, almost like a different song. And they play a completely different riff, completely different chord sequence. But, wait a minute. Which I think is fantastic, that kind of confidence in yourself to thanks, Mark, to go, we're going to put this bit in here, we're going to have this whole bit which is different. I think it's just amazing. I completely agree with you about it. And the drumming is just amazing. Busy is the word I'd use, but get elbowing them out of the way and getting in. So fantastic. I think, is the guitar solo double tracked, Brad?
Yeah,
double tracked. Yeah. One of the
Interweave,
things they did. Interweaving, yeah. There's all sorts of things, doesn't it? Yeah.
Very unique.
And very melodic as well.
Yeah.
And I think he's at his best, when he does the melodic stuff. Kind of thing. But so I agree with you. 10 out of 10, and never a skip. As substance, and really cool, really cool. Mr. Walsh.
What an opening riff! Jeepers. I just think we often talk, don't we, about opening riffs and that the importance of a song. Yes, we've had some great songs open some great albums, haven't we, guys? But this riff by itself is just enough to give it 10 points, and then you've got to give it another 10 points for everything else that follows. I just think this album, for me personally, was a gateway, and a gateway album. And I sometimes would love to have been able to experience this album when it came out in 1970 for the Vietnam connotations that Simon and Sonia are talking about in the chat, because when I heard this in the early 1980s, it was all around the satanic stuff, the evil, so and it was quite kind of scary. It was, I have to admit that. Listening to these albums, it was like, oh gosh, be careful, you never got that when someone gave you a Led Zeppelin album or a Deep Purple album or a Rolling Stones album. They were dangerous albums, but they weren't like, oh my gosh, So when I hear this riff, I still go back to to that time where, oh my gosh, And then the lyrics come in. Generals gather at their masses. Just like, oh my God. Oh my.
Great non-rhyme. Could I say great non-rhyme? Masses.
You
see,
because,
it's funny.
Well, I'm a Catholic boy, you see. So, we know what masses are,
Yes.
You go there, the real presence of our Lord Jesus Christ, which is that black masses. Oh my
Yes.
gosh!
Whereas us godless heathens didn't think that.
Godless
I just
Godless
there was-
heathens.
I don't know if you remember, but there was a lot of stuff around at that sort of time about playing records backwards, and there were all these satanic messages and complete nonsense. That nobody.
Yeah.
One, it was quite difficult to play records backwards. You couldn't just do it. You had to sort of, and to kind of do that. And so I don't think anyone, certainly no one I knew, took any of that seriously. It was a kind of clearly the devil's going to arrive any minute now, especially if you're listening to this record. It's like, it doesn't seem to occur to us at all.
Oh, well, I certainly hung out with a couple of guys, Garth Blomfield and a guy called Alex and a guy called David McCall, and they wore that badge with honor that they were listening to.
Yeah.
They wore that badge with honor, and look, great. It's a great track, isn't
Rebellion
it? It's
thing.
just. It's a rock and roll classic, and I'm glad that everybody's enjoying it in the chat too. Because hey, Brian, for joining us,
Morning,
thank
Jonas
you,
as well, Jonas Hellberg,
and Renus
Robot
for
Robot
being a little bit
Switch.
cheeky in the
I
chat.
saw
You're awesome. Thank you. We might do a couple of your requests, but we've got a show to follow through. Look, it's a 20 out of 10. It's a fantastic song. I've got a couple of things that I want to add later on in regards to the band, but we'll throw it in the during the course of the show. Love it. Never a skip.
Well, that brings us to Paranoid, the title track off the album, and it was the first single from the album. It's a catchy song. It was written almost on the spot, as they didn't have enough songs for the album. It shows some unbelievable bass playing, drumming, and guitar playing, and Ozzy's vocals are just fantastic. The double track guitar solo is classic and mandatory for any guitarist to learn. It's I've always loved the pulsing vibe through the song. They were afraid at the time that it sounded too similar to Led Zeppelin's Communication Breakdown, but I think it stands on its own. It's one of their more popular songs and obviously their most successful single. This is a perfect example of a song that's written in 25 minutes that just works. And when you think about it, it was a last-minute song they wrote, and it's their most successful song. So what does that tell you? They just threw it together and they throw something together. It becomes their most successful song. This is the song that you could play to anyone that's never heard Black Sabbath before. As a perfect example of what Black Sabbath were. It's a short song. It's to the point. It's got everything, the goodness. It's got the drumming's phenomenal. The bass playing's phenomenal. The guitar just pulses along. The vocals are great. I gave it a 10 out of 10. It's never a skip. Simon.
Couple of things. Yeah. I mean, clearly, one of their first kind of classic song. And really their only crossover hit, certainly in the UK. I mean, they were on top of the pops, which is quite astonishing, really, because they didn't. I don't think they did Morning Deja Voodoo. I don't think they did it any other time apart from that. But what I didn't realise until I was researching this was that the guitar is dry in one level, and then it's passed through a ring modulator in the other channel, which is like ring modulation. I mean, that's a sort of synthesizer thing, and to give it that sort of slightly weird thing. Again, this is another thing about the lyrics, when the lyric being misheard. I tell you to enjoy life was misheard as I tell you to end your life, and things like that, which is clearly not. But I mean, I can remember seeing them on Top of the Pops, these sort of, the long hairs on Top of the Pops. I was not the first time they went that out of sync with the rest of thing. But I think I like the fact that according to, this is interesting. I don't know whether you saw this, but I was reading I think in one of Mojo magazine or somewhere, that that Geezer Butler was dead against the song because he thought it too closely resembled Led Zeppelin's Communication Breakdown. And it had never occurred to me before. Now it's been pointed out to me. I sort of hear it, but I didn't. I mean, sort of, but yeah, I didn't really. I didn't really figure that out, but until recently, so it's been fun for me. So I agree. I mean, this is a 20 out of 10. This is a Brad score. He knows that their one and only hit single. It is classic Sabbath in every way. It's got it's got just the right lyrics for it, and great riff, fantastic riff, and great playing from Wyoming. Yeah, see, I got that solo melodic with a weird distorted sound in the right channel, which is clearly the ring modulation thing. It's
Oh, hold on, Sonia. You never know. We might be, we're full of surprises here on this show. Yeah.
Yes, dangerous.
Have you given it a rank?
No,
have you given it a rank?
20 out of 10. Never a skip, ever.
One of the interesting things that I found when I listened to the two songs, you listen to the vocals of the first song by Ozzy, and then you listen to the vocals on the second song. He's got that reverb going. There's something going on with his voice, and it's just hold on. Just grab my notes, make sure I'm talking about the right song. Hold on, because I'm blind, guys. Hold on.
Look at a very small screen now. It's all going wrong.
Yeah, just hold on. Just hold on. Make sure I'm talking about the right song. I think I am. Because Yeah, I am. Okay, yeah. So the difference is very clever production on the studio because no disrespect to Ozzy, Ozzy's no Page with his vocals. He's no Coverdale. He's no Ian Gillan, so he and the fact that they made that distinction on those first two songs with his vocals, very clever. And something that I always loved when I heard those first two songs. It's a little bit like Eruption and what's the other song that follows that we were talking about yesterday, Brad? You really got me. Yeah. So when I hear War Pigs, I've automatically got to hear Paranoid. It's just it's just that connection. It's like Salt and Pepper. Got to have it. I think it's a remarkable song. Interesting that Brad talks about it being a mandatory song. It's a song that I've probably only tried to play a couple of times, so I'll have to give it a go. I'm going to echo my co-host and say it's a 20 out of 10. It's the first two songs on this album. It's a cracker. It's out of the park. Home run, sixes.
Well, it's first two tracks on the album are absolutely like brilliant songs and a really powerful intro to the album. It's pretty normal around this time frame for bands for a third song to be of a mellower vibe. And, Black Sabbath were known for their doomy riffs and the big sound and everything. But this was the next song, Planet Caravan. It's a very mellow vibe song. I absolutely love this song. But I have to say, when I was a kid and I was learning guitar, it didn't resonate with me at first. It was one of those songs where I was like, skip this one. I want to get to the heavier stuff. But I have to say I've completely backflipped that now. And I actually, I want to go and learn this song note for note now. It resonates that strongly with me. I love it. I love the percussion from Bill Ward. Tony's guitar playing is hypnotic. Beautiful. Ozzy's voice is filtered through a Leslie speaker, and then Rod Bain, the engineer, put it through an oscillator, and it sounds phenomenal. It's about floating through the universe with a loved one, and taking a spaceship out into the stars and having an ultimate romantic weekend. Django Reinhardt's jazz influence on Tony Iommi's guitar playing is evident. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we do the tone tip, not long ahead of us. There's a nice little piano added through the solo section. It's a 20 out of 10 for me. It's never a skip, and I'm looking forward to hearing what my co-hosts have to say. Simon.
Yeah. Yes, couldn't agree more. I would. Yes, it is one of those. You know, it's a real left turn, isn't it, in terms of what you think of Sabbath doing. You know, you think of that heavy riffing and portentous stuff and things, and then yes, and they turn up with this, very kind of acousticy thing, light acoustic thing with bongos and stuff, and it's got weird beeping noises in it, and the guitar solo seems like more of a noodle and a jam than a sort of thought out solo, which is fine, but that's what it sounds like to me. They went in and got on with it. So I mean, it's absolutely. I mean, I think I really like it because it's really, they do something. You have the first two tracks which are classics, and then you just do something quite left field as a different palate cleanser. Take different taste, different thing completely. I think it's really well positioned in the album to do that, just to surprise you as a listener. As a whoever programmed it, I think did really good. So it's a 10 out of 10 for me, and never a skip, because it's it just has that difference, and I'm really keen on the flow of an album, how it works as as a set of songs. So I, absolutely 10 out of 10, and never a skip. And got to keep in Sonia's good books. Andrew,
this is Black Sabbath channeling West Coast hippies, and doing a very bad job of it. Yeah, guys. Look, I'm going to say it's one of my least favorite Black Sabbath songs.
Yeah.
It has been for a long time. I just I have to defend myself here, because I'm not just a metalhead. Okay, I'm not looking for the riffs, because I can appreciate any kind of left field that some of these artists that we talk about do, but this is too freaky for me. This is too spacey. I never liked it. So I'm going to give it.
Oh, look out, Sonia! Block your ears.
I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I'm sorry, guys, and it's often a skip. Often a skip.
Wow.
Look, everyone's giving it 10 out of 10. Humpty Dumpty. Yeah, well, I must be Humpty Dumpty then. Wrinkle foreskin.
Not to be confused with Renus Pinkle. Oh dear. Yeah, time out. Yeah.
I don't even know where to go with that now. I'm going to leave my comment in the chat. I'm going to leave that comment in the chat there for you, Andrew, and I'm going to move on. We're going to let that one go, okay?
Okay.
All right, so Iron Man.
Well,
I don't even know where to start with this one. That thump, thump, thump from the kick drum. The release, the doomy guitar E string, releasing it from the nut, from in front of the nut, releasing it. Oh, just unreal.
Is that how he does it? Brad?
Yeah. Hold the in front of the nut, holds it down, and then releases it. That's all he's doing.
Cool, man.
The the Aussie where he comes in with that robot effect on his voice, saying I am, classic. It's classic. It's if you think about it, with technology, what they had back then, it sounds cheesy, but it's just classic for me. It's I love this riff. Iconic. It's just about anything else you can think of in the history of music, in my opinion. The vocals during the verses are double tracked and they're tracked perfectly. They get more spread that way. That's why they double track the vocals. The drumming is exceptional. It's phenomenal. Bass playing is following the riff and wanders a little bit, but it pretty much has a beautiful clang to it with a low mid-range spike that gives it that spook. Geezer Butler plays some wonderful octave stuff and moving bass lines as well. At 3 minutes 12, where the solo starts, it's just like another little journey within itself. There's an insane performance from the band. The rundowns are double-tracked on the guitar to perfection. There's so many twists and turns in this song, the iconic ending as well. By the time this song finishes, you're completely off on another journey. It's a 20 out of 10. And for me, it's never a skip. It's got to be one of their most iconic guitar riffs in history.
Yeah. It is, isn't it? It absolutely, yeah. I mean, absolutely, it is. Yeah. Again, iconic is the word I'd use. And this one, it's one of the songs you think of straight in when you think of Sabbath, isn't it? You think of that voice, that treated voice, that takes all the Birmingham out of Ozzy Osbourne. It doesn't sound like he comes from Birmingham at all. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is an effect.
Yeah.
If you can take "I am Iron Man," and it's going to work. But yeah, it's amazing thing. I mean, there's a couple of things I picked up on it that made me smile. But clearly, it's Butler wrote the lyrics as a story of a man who time travels into the future and sees the apocalypse. In the process of returning to the present, he is turned into steel by the magnetic field. Of course, his attempts to warn the populace are ignored and mocked. This is causing Iron Man to become angry and vengeful, causing the destruction seen in his vision. But in the concert film, Oyomi remembers that the first time that at the time with most bands, it was all flowers in your hair and we want to sing and play about the other side of life. In 1992, they talked about, we hear if you're going to San Francisco, to be sure to wear some flowers in your hair. There's a long way from Birmingham, and we're thinking, what the F is San Francisco? Where is this? What you want to go there for? What's this flower skirt stuff? It's like makes it's lovely that completely down to earth Birmingham thing being, and I think it's true that we forget in 1970 that nobody'd been to America, bands toured there a bit, but there were no cheap flights to America. Air, travel of any was still relatively in its infancy, and really for the well-off, and not for people people just didn't wander off to America on holiday. It was way too difficult for that. So you can see, that somebody from Birmingham who's worked in an abattoir, and you're off to San Francisco to put some flowers in your hair. It's literally a world away from what you're doing, where you are, and I think that that also it has some some sort of stuff, but it is amazing. It is an amazing song with an amazing riff, as you say, Brad. They go back and forth to have an instrumental break, back to the riff, back to the verse, back as you say, and it goes on this completely kind of circular thing. The thing that interested me that I picked up on was that near the end, like right near the end, it's a bit more. It seemed to me that I listened to it 2 or 3 times, and the playing got quite sloppy at the end. It was like not brilliant. They clearly thought, well, that's good enough. It's fine, carry on, which I thought was interesting. Was an attitude I think is really good, because I think the vibe is really good, and I think they went for the vibe over perfection, if you see what I mean. And you couldn't go back then, scroll it back on the screen and roll to the notes. They just thought, well, just leave it in. And you know me, I like those things. I like that sort of mistakes. I like those kind of, where it's not quite perfect. I think it gives it a.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
It's great fun.
It's a live performance that they're doing in the studio, so they're it's warts and all what you're hearing, which is phenomenal. Really, that a band pulls off a sound like that and phenomenal. But it looks like Andrew's having a few.
He's got the spinning wheels of doom. Should we do Andrew for him?
Well, I don't know if because I'm actually interested to hear his.
He's I'm
his analysis on this now because of his last one, because he's he's borderlining some timeouts, I think. Yeah. So
might redeem himself. 20 out of 10, and never a skip. By the way, I mean, a Brad score. It's because it's such a classic song. To me, it's it is. I know this album. Volume 4 probably better than any of the other ones, really, the later ones. It's sort of, but whereas this, clearly used in the. Mr. Walton, over to you. Surprise! Oh, can you hear us? Can you hear us? He's blinking, so he's moving. Is he winding us up? Come in, Mr. Walton. Are you there? Planet Hamilton, are you there?
Planet Hamilton.
Missed the link, Andrew. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll go quickly because I might. You guys might have to carry on the show if this is going to continue. So, what are we talking about? Iron Man. Okay. Look, it's a 20 out of 10, isn't it? It's a classic riff. It's a song that I think I read somewhere that VH1 or something or some heavy metal publication of repute said it's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, heavy metal song. And I agree with that. I think this is heavy metal. When we talk about the differences between rock and heavy metal, and the differences between what constitutes a heavy metal or a heavy rock song. For example, Van Halen are not heavy metal, but Black Sabbath
invented it. Oh, is he gone?
I think he's trying to prove a point by, in giving that gap to actually give it some intensity behind it.
Trying to redeem himself from Sonia's wrath.
I think he gave it a 20 out of. Did he say 20 out of 10? He did, didn't he?
I'm sure I heard that.
Yeah. So we'll take that as a 20 out of 10, Andrew, when you come back on. We might jump into the next song while he's trying to reconnect, so we can keep the flow of the show going. So Electric Funeral's the next one. Wow, doomy vibes from the very start. The singing by Ozzy, perfectly feel and fitting for the song. The vocal melody follows the riff, like you mentioned, Simon, earlier, that a lot of Ozzy singing follows the guitar lines. And in this song, particularly the vocal melody is following the riff. There's some great wah use from Iommi, which is something we don't hear a lot of from Tony, but there's some great wah work. He doesn't completely filter with his wah. He's kind of got it cocked backwards, and just throaty comes forward a little bit. Just to give that wow, 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 no, like to give that effect of, he gives it that vibe.
Who else were we discussing who did that? Just moved it a bit. Somebody else the last couple of weeks as well. Doesn't matter.
Well, off the top of my head, I can't think of who it was, but that in itself is it gives a lot of color and texture to the song. For me, Iommi's like the master of double tracking guitars, because there's that one guitar doing the wah, and there's one just without a wah playing exactly the same thing. This gives that nice fatness to the riff. The little breakdown at 1 minute 50, it's like on and off on another journey. I've always liked that bit from Iommi, where he's like, like this just takes off into
funky, I think.
another vibe. To me, it reminds me of like a 70s, movie car chase scene, where they're running with guns, and there's cars chasing and all that stuff. Some really great drumming from Bill Ward in this song. It's another journey from the band. Look, I gave it a 9 out of 10. For me, it's, with the ratings I've given the rest of the songs, I had to give it a 9 out of 10, but it's never a skip, Simon.
We do have a Johnny Bean raid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, DVD. Robert Master, Kevin Cachell, John BL, Johnny Bean,
Right.
FX, Rico B. Greetings from Arizona. Greetings from North Somerset.
Awesome, guys. Appreciate the
Now
raid.
I'm hearing the start of War Pigs.
Vintage sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, earlier.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for rating
Thanks for
us.
dropping by.
Hit that subscribe button while you're here too, guys. If you haven't already done that, we'd appreciate the subscriptions. And all subs to our channel get an automatic sub back. That's the best we can do for you.
Craven Soda, Nerd Halen. Good morning, Caleb. How you doing? Pretty good. Andrew, do you want to go back and just finish off what you were saying about
No. We'll carry on. It's okay.
Score.
Oh, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Never a skip.
Yeah.
So, Electric Funeral. I had the same thing down, that kind of wah-wah distorted guitar riff over the bass and drums, clearly with a double track guitar. As you say, Brad, that if you know, later on in the song, they have the singing and they have the bass and the guitar playing the melody. They have three things playing the singing, which is amazing kind of thing, And as I say, I can't think of anybody else who does that. If that's signature thing that they do. And you've got that kind of funky thing, that kind of funky car chase thing in the middle. I think this is, I really like it. I think that never mind, do something a bit different. By the way, I'm going to insert almost a different song into this, and make it work. I'm not saying they don't work. I think it's it keeps your interest as a listener fantastically, and I think it's great fun as well. I like that. So, blimey, where are they going now? And then they have a spoken part near the end, back to the before they go back to the riff, Yeah, I mean, absolutely 10 out of 10 and never a skip. Great opener for side 2. And yes, hashtag never a skip.
Never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, look, I agree. It's a fantastic side 2 opener, isn't it? It could easily have opened up the album. It's just fantastic. Brad's mentioned the use of the wah, the different textures and tonalities. That Tony Iommi is bringing on the second album's phenomenal. But what I really like though about this album in particular, the bass tone is completely different to everybody else. There's a lot of treble in that bass tone. The bass, and it's not something like Fleetwood Mac were doing at the time, or Clapton's backing band. It's not the bass tone that Carl Rattle was having around that same time, or even John Paul Jones. Where it was just buried a little bit. It's certainly out there in the mix, and I appreciate that. I love it. It's just so different to everything else that we're listening. Even the bass from Deep Purple at the time. It's remarkable. Never had the opportunity, obviously, to see them live, but obviously they must have sounded like that when they recorded them. I don't think, from what I've read, and maybe Brad can back me up or say that I'm completely wrong, but that's pretty much how they sounded when they played live at that time. So I love it. Love it. Sophisticated lyrics coming through. Love to say that the lyrics were all Aussies, but he wasn't the lyricist, was he? 10 out of 10. Never a skip.
Geezer Butler.
So, Andrew, I don't know how your connection's going, but do you want to show some of these photos that we put together? I was going to show them a bit earlier, but
Sure.
we might go through.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
and we've got a few people on here as well. So, I want to show. We've shown the album cover already, but I don't know whether you've got. So your next one. So, if you're not familiar with what Sabbath looked like in this era, there was this motley crew here, all Birmingham boys, and they had a specific look about them. You know, they looked. I mean, you look like they look like you wouldn't be able to trust them. That's for sure. You know, they look doomy, groomy. It's great
You can dress them up, but you can't take them out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So it's Geezer Butler there on the left, Tony Iommi next to him in the white jacket, Bill Ward in the middle there, and Ozzy on the far right. That's a very young band.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah. So I just thought that's a good visual if you're not familiar with what they look like in this period. Go to the next one, Andrew.
Craven Soda says Ozzy looks like his daughter Amy in that picture.
Does, yeah.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Yes.
I'm not sure. Andrew, are you still with us? I think we've got a spinning wheel from Andrew.
Is he? I haven't got a spinning wheel. I just got those staring eyes.
Yes. So we're going to be looking at this picture for a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Poor guy. He's really struggling.
I don't know what's going on in New Zealand. It's all going to pot.
Yeah. What we might do, Simon, is we'll continue on, and when Andrew comes back, we might be able to get on with looking at some of these photos and whatnot. It's not that important we look at them, but I just thought it gives a good representation of where the band was at the time. So what are you up to? Hands of Doom. Are we up to Hands of Doom?
Yes, we are up to Hands of Doom.
Now, this song in particular has some really slick bass playing at the start of the song. Bill Ward and Tony Iommi come in the second pass through very lightly. I love the feel, especially the kick drum in this song. Ozzy comes in and scares the living daylights out of all of us with "What You Gonna Do." It's like setting the mood straight from the word go. You know, when the band kicks in, the band just sounds powerful. There's an intense feel in the song. Then back to soft settled vibes again. Around 2 minutes and 5 seconds, it's like another song. The journey starts as typical Black Sabbath, the way they did things. It'd be off on another journey, off on a power sledge of riffs and heavy hitting. Around the 3:37 mark, the solo is panned to the left, and there's a stomping feel. It's unbelievable. It's supported by really heavy drums and bass. Then another twist in the journey around 5 minutes, back to the start again. Clearly, this song is stemmed from a jam. It's extended maybe from another stage performance or something. Bill Ward is exceptional in this song. Ozzy's, pushing his voice passionately. Bill Ward obviously just is the low-end master of this style of music and holds it all together. And clearly, Tony's the leader here, and he heads the band through this journey. It's a 10 out of 10 and never a skip from me.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm going to ask you about. We can go towards the Django Reinhardt jazz influences on Iommi's playing. But I'm interested in digging into it. Apparently, Hand of Doom dealt with the problem of soldiers returning from Vietnam War strung out on heroin, which the band witnessed firsthand when they played 2 American Army bases. But as Butler observed that in 2010 to Matthew Longfellow, there was nothing new nothing on the news about this. There were no programs telling us that US troops in Vietnam to get through that horrible war were fixing up and all this kind of thing. The drug use was very prevalent, which we know now, but it just stuck in his head. And then when we got to Hand of Doom, that's what he wrote about. So that's what Hand of Doom is about, which is, again, kind of, much more than just a kind of satanic obsession kind of thing, which I think is really impressive. That kind of, so it was almost a social commentary thing going on from the, underneath the, It's really interesting, isn't it? That kind of, they start off, they do, have an intro, and then they have guitars, they have singing over quiet instrumentation, and then they have like, then they drop down to bass, then they have a new riff, completely different. Wait a minute, just when you expect them to go back to, no, that doesn't work, doesn't it? We'll do something else, and then then they have another new riff, which is like sort of boogie riff, and then. Amazing kind of, that ability to put completely different riffs in and kind of make it work together is fantastic. I was reminded, I don't know about you, I was reminded by that it seemed like it's a bit of a predecessor to Hurt, the 9 Inch Nails song, Johnny Cash, a bit had that kind of, the description of pushing, holes in your skin and stuff seemed very kind of like Hurt, which is a thing. But it's a 10 out of 10 and never a skip. Amazing song, really. And as I say, I think that it gets that for the social realism thing that that it has about it. To about trying to describe something interesting and oh look, he's back, Mr. Walton. Over to you.
Do you want to go through the photos, bro?
Yeah.
This was the last photo that we had.
Yeah, well, that's just another backstage one of the boys in that time frame. Obviously, Ozzy's wearing what looks like a lady's shirt or something. You can see them all sporting the evil cross. But they were very. Hey, Warren.
Hey, Warren.
Yeah.
Welcome, man. Hope you're good.
And they're all sporting, long hair, looking pretty scruffy, and look at Geezer Butler there on the very left. He's just like, cool. It's funny how the three of them had like moustaches, and Ozzy just never did it. He probably couldn't grow one properly or something, but it was just.
Somebody pointed that out earlier in the chat. I can't remember who it was. Yeah, pointed out the lack of.
If you can only grow blum fluff, mate, you're not going to grow anything, are you?
Yeah,
said a man with a beard so big, blot out the sun.
So go to the next one. That was the single. Paranoid. That was that was the single cover. So it's surprising that they look. Ozzy looks like I don't know. He looks like a little boy there or something. It doesn't look real to me, that photo. But obviously that was them at that period.
Looks like an interloper, doesn't he? Looks like something he just turned out and sort of stuck his head round the corner of the thing. And these three heavy guys with black hair, hats, moustaches.
Looks like someone that's been in the faces.
Yeah. I mean, look, to be honest with you, that's not a very appealing cover for a single. You think you would put something on there, but that's just what they did. That was Sabbath. They didn't put much thought. It's just a scruffy backyard photo of them. I just love their look. Iommi's fringe, where Harry cut it straight across. He probably did it himself with a pair of scissors. It just, I don't know. I just love this look.
Do you love? Don't you love? Is it Bill Ward on the right? Look at those shoes, brown socks and shoes. Look at that. Yeah. There's a rock star look for you.
And you look at the rest of them were sporting some pretty fancy boots at that stage. So they must have
boots and all of that.
They must have had a record advance and went and bought some flash shoes. Look at those shoes, man. That's killer.
Except for Bill, who's not doing anything of the sort.
Well, drummers tend to just wear shoes or nothing at all, don't they? Really? So, sorry, drummers.
It's just funny.
I love this picture. This is probably one of my sort of favorite pictures from this era. You just look at Bill Ward there on the very left, just sitting there like, oh, come on, let's get through this.
Look at Iomi's giving you the skunk eye, isn't he? He's like,
Aussie's obviously ready to say something like "piss off." Oops, sorry guys. It's like a time capsule looking at these photos, you know.
Lovely. Yeah.
They're looking at the scruffy, but this is, you know, for Birmingham boys. That's a live footage shot of them in that time frame. So you can see they obviously had a persona on stage. It's cool to see the drum kit there with the double kick.
Look at those shoes. Come on.
Yeah.
Glam rockers.
Tony Iommi sporting some white threads there instead of black stuff. And I actually made a note of that they tried to not wear all black all the time. I noticed that.
Mm.
And that's a promo shot. I think that was on their set of their film clip of Paranoid.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure that's on the set of Paranoid. I just thought that was a really cool visual to capture, because obviously we can't play the song, but at least you can get a visual of the era. And you know, I want to note that Tony Iommi was a left-handed guitarist, which we're going to get into soon. So if you have a look at that's his second SG. He traded his first SG for that, a straight swap. He had a right-handed SG that he strung upside down, and then by the time he got to this point, they swapped it around. Yeah. And a very basic, very, very basic drum kit there, which is probably not what they recorded with. I'd say he would have had a little bit more there. But I've lost Andrew again. But I've almost lost where we're up to with the rankings. I think Andrew was up to his ranking with that song. So maybe we should jump on, keep the flow of the show going there, because you've done your ranking on Hands of Doom, haven't you, Simon?
I have done my ranking on Hands of Doom. Yeah.
Do you want to jump on to Rat Salad, and when Andrew comes back, he can address his rankings? So Rat Salad, this one is a funny name for a song. I don't know where they got the inspiration for the name of the song, but
I'll tell you that in a minute.
Yeah, well, I'm going to leave that to you, Simon. I'm not going to try and find it. What a great riff. There's some amazing drum fills from Bill Ward. The solo in this song is one of my favorite Tony Iommi solos, believe it or not. I absolutely love what he does in it. You know, the feel on the drums behind his guitar solo is unique. There's some amazing blasts from Bill Ward through the drumming sections. I hear a lot of Ginger Baker, Buddy Rich, John Bonham, and so much more in his playing. But clearly he has his own signature feel. It's a great instrumental drum song. You know, some drum songs, you know, same time frame. It was very popular for bands to put a drum song second last or last song on an album. I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's never a skip. I really enjoy it. I don't think the drum solo is too long in it. It's nice, short, sweet. It doesn't go for half an hour or anything like that. It's a fantastic song. I'm sure if they played this live, they probably extended it, and they probably all walked off stage and let Bill Ward go for it, and then come back on after they've done their, you know, had a cigarette and some other stuff, and come back on stage.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't remember when I saw them. I don't remember them doing a massive drum solo. I might have done a bit, but I don't remember it being very nice. But yeah, sorry, Bruno.
No, I just got a message from Andrew to keep going. So yeah, we're just keeping going.
We keep it going. Yeah.
So Rat Salad, what Simon?
So according to Butler, Ward's drum solo, Rat Salad, resulted from the band having to play 8 3/4 hour spots in Europe earlier on in their career. So they had to do, you know. And apparently Bill used to fill out a whole 45 minutes doing a drum solo just to get rid of that 45 minutes. One set covered. He said that apparently Butler said the title came from he was on record stating it came from a joke about Ward's hair not having been combed. It's not like a rat salad.
That's great.
I think, but yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's it is just the right it's just the right length of drum solo, isn't it? Riff. It's the same as Moby Dick, really, isn't it? They've got the riff, and then you've got drum solo, and then it comes back to the riff. But I agree with you. Solo is really good as well. Yeah. Again, it's just they don't overplay it, which I think is definitely a cool thing from my point of view. Don't know, could go on for 10 minutes, but actually, you know what, 2.5 is fine. As a little instrumental interlude. I think it's again, that kind of track 3 side 2 sort of thing is the perfect place for that sort of like quirky song. We've seen lots of albums with a sort of quirky song at this stage in the proceedings, and clearly this is no different. I give it an 8 out of 10. It's absolutely fine, and and does. I mean, I think it does what it's supposed to do. It kind of palate cleanser. You've had 2 really big doomy songs, and now you have something else before. You have a change of emphasis. The third track. The same as this. You get to track 3 on side 1. You've got Planet Caravan, which is a complete. Again that you have a change. So I think it's a hats off to them for that, because I think that's really cool. Yeah. I mean, clearly it's not one of their major songs, which is why it only gets an 8. If Iron Man gets a 10, this gets an 8. Sonia, sorry, Sonia.
Sorry, Sonia. Well, it's interesting. Like the flow of an album, we talk about it a lot, Simon, and the flow of an album is really important. Like in this time frame, wasn't like it is now. We've explained this numerous times. We're not sitting here just skipping tracks. You're putting on an album, an LP, you're starting the needle and you're going from one part of it to the side A is finished, and then you flip it and go side B. And the flow of an album was really important back then, more so then than now, because people don't listen to a full album anymore. They've got short attention spans. So to put a song like this, the second last song is perfect in the context of an album. That to me, and I obviously, I've seen footage of them in this era. There's not a lot going around, but I'm sure when they did this, they probably extended little sections of that song, Rat Salad, so that he could just do, like you said, fill up a set almost if needed. Amazing. Like, it really highlights how good, Bill Ward was as a drummer, and I don't think he's underrated. I think drummers rate him very high, but in the context of drummers in that era, there was some amazing drummers around at that time frame too. John Bonham, Ian Payne, Ginger Baker. Like, there were so many great drummers. So, but yeah, in my opinion, he's still one of my favorite drummers, and I could listen to Black Sabbath all day because of his drumming alone. So
he's got his own style, isn't he? It's an underrated thing, isn't it? That if you clearly took a lot of took influences from, and I think it's really interesting, isn't it? You don't just take influences from rock drummers. You go, these guys are products from, born just after the war. Therefore, when they're growing up, they're not listening to rock music. They're listening to, their parents are probably playing jazz, and so therefore, you have other influences, the jazz influence, the people who didn't play rock. Whereas now, if you're a drummer, you're gonna be much more influenced by John Bonham, and you have to go back to find, I don't know, Gene Krupa or someone like that, or to get that kind of different jazzy thing. Whereas clearly that's what they listened to, part of what they listened to, and then they had contemporaries like Ginger Baker, John Bonham, and a bit behind them, but not much, So I think you're right. It does come out very clearly, that kind of that jazz influenced drumming, and influence from other places, not just rock drumming, which is which gives it a different, makes it different. So which is great, Well, it's difficult enough, isn't it?
His feel on the hi-hat, snare, and kick drum is quite unique. There's not a lot of drummers that have the same feel as him. I mean, it's interesting how people, and any drummers that watch our show, I'm pretty sure there's some drummers that watch our show. If you don't get into Bill Ward, you should probably have a listen. But we might save the last song. I might actually just talk a little bit about Tony Iommi. What I'll do is
we'll see if Andrew comes back.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the gear as such at this stage because I've got a lot of photos that back it up, and what I'm talking about. There's photos and everything, but
this is for Sonia, who wanted a picture of them at the California Jam '74. There they are on the California Jam '74, rainbow, with twin bass drums. You can see twin bass drums.
Yep.
Yeah,
unreal.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, really cool photograph.
And they were really good at that performance, in my opinion. Like the footage I've seen of them is unreal. So I'll talk about Iommi a little bit here. If you're not aware of Tony Iommi, he had an accident when he's very young. He's working in his first job in a factory. He was doing electric welding and gas welding, and obviously he was auditioning for bands. He was trying to get himself out of that sort of Birmingham industry work mode, and he was a musician. That was what he loved doing, and he was playing guitar, and he'd given notice to leave his job because he had a professional tour booked with a band that accepted him and took him on. And he went into work on his last day. He went in the morning, and basically the story goes like this.
It was his last day, wasn't it?
Yeah, his last day. He gave his notice. It was his last day. And apparently the story goes like this. He went into work and they said the person that he was like a welder, so he'd be welding all the steel that was cut for him, gas welding or electric welding. And the person that normally operated the guillotine press to cut the metal wasn't there, and they told him he had to go and cut the metal himself with the guillotine press, and he'd never done it. And as he's pushing the metal through into the machine, it came down on him, and the action of pulling his hands back quickly pulled the tips off two of his fingers, which I've got photos of.
Welcome to health and safety.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that is how he lost two fingertips. And before he went home for lunch, before that, he went home for lunch. And he said to his mum, "I'm not going back into work now. I'm done for the day. I'm not going back in." And she's like, "No, you go in and finish properly. You don't want to burn bridges. Go in and finish properly." And so he always blamed his mum for that, unfortunately, for losing two of his fingers. And he went on and tried to, obviously with bandages on his fingers, he tried to learn to play with two fingers. So hi, Andrew.
He's back.
Carry on, bro. Don't mind me because I might drop out again. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So we're just talking about
fingers.
We're talking about the accident he had just to fill some time before he got back. So if you see there, this is just leave that photo there for a second, Andrew. He had bandages on his fingers and he was trying to learn to play with two fingers. He even tried to play right-handed. Like he tried to swap the guitar around and play traditional right-handed style instead of left-handed, and he couldn't do it. He went to specialists. They told him he might as well pack up his gear and stop playing. So he tried making tips for his fingers. He started making them out of plastic, but they'd slip off the strings. And later on, he put material on them and found that leather worked the best. Around the same time that he was in recovery and learning how to play with two fingers, as opposed to four fingers, the manager of the firm, actually it was shortly after his accident, from my understanding, the manager of the firm where he worked came around the house to see how he was recovering and how he was, and he was really depressed, obviously. And the manager of the firm gave him an EP to listen to, and he said, "Look, this is the last thing I want to do right now is listen to another guitar player. I'm depressed. I can't deal with this." And he goes, no, you got to listen to this guy. His name's Django Reinhardt. And he goes, he lost the use of two fingers. So it kind of gave him a bit of hope. And it inspired him to continue on to struggle through with the fingertip loss on the tops of his fingers. So he managed to, put the tips on, and he learned to play. He basically had to learn how to play guitar again because he lost that sensation and feeling with the two fingers. So you can imagine if you're not feeling what you're bending with the string, it would be extremely difficult. So he had to basically learn how to play again. He had to play with lighter gauge strings, like really light gauge strings, and he even tuned down quite substantially and had modifications done to his guitars as well to get around that. So quite a little journey for him, tragic sort of thing for any musician to have to go through, especially guitarists with your fingers. But yeah, from a young lad, he pushed through, and obviously what you're seeing there in that photo there is the molds and the plastic fingertips that he had made, or he made himself, I'm not sure, but he put leather on them, and when he'd be on tour, he'd have to replace the leather regularly, like every month or every few weeks. So I don't know if you're still with us there, Andrew, but go to maybe the next picture, I think. So yeah, you can see another picture there. That's a bit later. Like that's probably in the 2000s era, but you can see he's got the same sort of fingertip extensions on there on his two middle fingers. And maybe the next picture, I think Andrew shows his fingers without the fingertips on them. But so that's
there we are. Yeah.
So without the actual tips on his fingers are quite sensitive. Obviously, he tried to play at first without them, and it was excruciating for him. So he couldn't do it. And that's a shot of him, only maybe 5-10 years ago. That wasn't so yeah, he'd had to learn to adapt. And Django Reinhardt became one of his major inspirations, and you can hear that in Planet Caravan.
Yep.
His very jazzy feel. And in saying that, Andrew, maybe a good time while we've got you here to do the tone tip, and I can go through his gear and things like that, if you're up for it.
Now it's time for Brad's Tech and Tone Tips.
That's Brad Sabbath. That's
Brad Sabbath, yes. Nice one.
Yeah, so, Andrew, I don't know if you got those photos that if you want to present some of those photos, but I want to talk about some of his gear and how he managed to pull this tone with this particular record. Because obviously through time he changed gear and things like that, but he had a very similar setup for a long time. So his main amp, I'll start talking about it anyway. I don't know if we still got you there, Andrew? Okay. So his main amp was a Laney LA100BL. It was known among some as the pre-Supergroup era amp. Tony used it on the Black Sabbath album and Paranoid album. It was a single channel amp, very little gain, with 4 EL34 power tubes in the power section. And it pretty much had to be dimed all the way across to get everything up to get the tone. And Laney's employee, Simon Fraser Clark, mentioned that there's a really weird thing with the amp. The first amp, they were built with partridge box frame transformers, and there was this thing that happens with them when you saturate the amp in the output section, that there's a weird undertone there. It's almost like an octave below, but it's not an octave below. So that's pretty much how they managed to get that. Tony Iommi managed to get that sound, which was very unique in itself. Now, Tony Iommi actually, I think I'm on my own, guys. That's the Brad Sabbath show. So I'm going to rely on you guys in the comments to keep me going. All right? Don't panic. deep breaths. We'll keep going. We'll soldier on. So he used the Laney amps. He used the Laney amps when the reason he liked working with them was because, well, basically the first time he said is because they were free. He got them free, and they gave him the opportunity to work with them to get the sound he wanted. He never rested with the company. He always used to keep trying to get a better tone from those amps. He used to drive everyone crazy, apparently. He always used to extend his sound checks to try and work with the stuff that the modifications they'd done. He'd always try this and that because they're always trying to improve the sound and drive the band insane, apparently. He basically just said he wanted to keep improving and change his sound throughout. It was a nightmare for him, but he just kept working with that amp. And he made the Laneys work when a lot of artists around that time were using other brands like Marshall and other amps at the time. Okay, I'm just having a look here. I've just got a message from Andrew. So yeah, and he did use Marshall amps as well, but the Laney was what he worked with because they basically was getting them for free. So he thought, well, that was the way Tony worked. Okay, so I'm going to go through here. He used in the early days like a Dallas Range Master treble booster. Okay, so I've got the boys back now. Geez, that was stressful, boys.
You did brilliantly. There's a picture of the Laney amps that he used as well. I just got.
I think Andrew's gonna, if he's with us.
Have you got better ones, Andrew?
Yeah, sorry about the nightmare, guys. It's just, yeah.
That's all right. We'll show.
Even I got booted as well. All of a sudden, bang!
Yeah,
so we'll try presenting those photos again. Okay, we'll just try that. I wonder. I doubt whether that has an effect with my internet connection.
So we might just have a look at some of these pictures that I prepared earlier, guys. Okay. And that was the Brad Sabbath show there for a little bit.
Did brilliantly. Didn't miss a beat.
Just kept it going. So yeah, Andrew's going to present some of these photos, and it makes a little bit more sense when you see the photos, guys. Especially for anyone who's not a guitarist here, it's just good to see the visual part of it.
Deja Vu just says, "Well done without a net." Brad without a net.
Yeah, there's no safety net on this show, I can tell you.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, so I'll talk about his guitar anyway, because I'm not sure. Have we got you, Andrew? Here he is.
So, what photo were we up to? Was this the one?
Go from there. That's fine. That's cool. If you have a look there, that's him on stage using the Laney amps. That was his rigs there. But if you go to the next picture, maybe Andrew, if you can, next one.
That one.
So there's a view of his stack there. He had 4 cabinets. I think he only mic'd up 1 or 2 cabinets, but to the right there, you can see clearly he's got Laney heads there, and he's got the 4 or 5 cabinets behind him. I don't know. I'm not sure whether he varied that from gig to gig, but he had a staple of Laney cabinets and his heads there. So that's an amazing rig there. And he's got some cool pants on, and you can see his SG clearly there. And he's sporting a fantastic Mo. And that was pictures of his fingers. That's a really cool picture of his SG that he was using, which we'll talk about in a sec. So you can clearly see that that's a left-handed one, which he basically swapped over a right-handed SG for that one. And the right-handed SG had strung upside down, and that was his backup guitar, which I think we spoke about on when we did the Black Sabbath album. So that's a really cool picture, and we'll talk about the guitar itself in a sec. But just keep going, Andrew, in the pictures, because I was just talking about those amps. So I just want to give everyone a clear picture of what those amps look like. So there's the there's the amp that I was referring to, guys. The Laney LA100BL. So that's a fairly clean one.
There we are.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a clean picture. You both my co-hosts here might have to go back and listen to my explanation of the amps, because I won't do it for everyone else.
I know I heard it, Brad. It's fine.
Okay.
I was just backstage, so I couldn't get on.
Right. Yeah. So there's a really clean version of it. You can see they're fairly basic amps, but they, Tony works closely with them.
Yeah, you can see the one. This is the one this is the one he actually recorded Paranoid on. Look, it's even simpler.
Yeah.
Hardly any knobs at all.
Now this is important. This is an important part of his sound, guys, because he used to dime his amps, and he used the neck pickup a lot for his tone. So in the early days, this pedal was modified as a Dallas Rangemaster treble booster, and it was modified by one of his roadies to supply more gain. Apparently in 1979, John Stinwell worked on Tony's Marshall for Heaven and Hell album. He threw away that pedal. And
Really?
And he was mortified because that was part of his sound. So in later, obviously he had range masters, but unfortunately they never took the back off to see what modifications were done. So Tony was not
He threw it away.
Threw it out, yeah. When he just threw it out and updated all of his gear and threw it all out. But basically it's used in the front end to purely hit the amp harder and make it break up more. But that's his SG there, which is nicknamed, I'll got my points here, nicknamed Monkey, because he put a little decal on it of a monkey. Now, this is perhaps one of his most iconic guitars. He got it in exchange for the regular right-handed SG used on the Black Sabbath debut album. And from that point, it became his main guitar. After getting the guitar, Tony went to John Birch's shop for some modifications. His left-handed SG received new Simplux pickups in the neck, which was John Birch's take on a P90. The bridge pickup was also taken out and rewound and then recovered in a metal casing. The neck was also refinished with a coat of polyurethane lacquer to improve the playability. And a 0 fret was installed next to the nut. He also decorated the guitar with the sticker of the monkey playing a fiddle. Tony used this guitar. He used this guitar on Paranoid, Masters of Reality, Volume 4. Then he retired it, and he's recently sold it to Hard Rock Cafe Museum. So that's a pretty iconic guitar right there, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Interesting about the pickups as well.
Yep, and he made some modifications to that guitar. Obviously, the bridge has been removed there, and they had to raise it up for the lighter gauge strings so it would clear the pickups. So that's a big part of his sound as well, I'm sure. But he did. He played that even played that guitar on stage.
Yeah.
I believe on what was it? He used. There was another note I had here. He used a Black Les Paul at some point to differentiate, to play something different from the SG. I think it was the first and last time he played it, which was on Paranoid, I think. Someone might be able to clarify that for me. But so that's a pretty iconic guitar right there. And Gibson did do some reissues of it. Obviously, they only built 200 of them or something.
And Sonia's got she's got I think an Epiphone Iomi signature SG. Is that correct?
Okay.
Well, she says in the chat that she's built her own. Yeah, she wanted to come on and show it, Andrew.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a flashback around the time when he was using string gauge wise. He worked really hard with string companies because no one made really light gauge strings. Like everyone was, doing just regular gauge strings. No one ever really built made light gauge strings. So because of his fingers, the way they were, he had to get some lighter gauge strings. So I believe he used some different tunings. He tuned down to D sharp or E flat. So his gauges were 8 to 32, which is fairly light. And for when he tuned to C sharp, he'd use 9 to 42s, which is still fairly light for that. They would have been fairly rattly and fairly loose, and that's why he had the bridge changed. And
I presume Brad's better on his fingers as well. Like,
that's the whole point. Yeah, he was never a light gauge string user until obviously that point. So it looks like we've lost Andrew again. But I'm glad we got to see some of those pictures, and that makes a little bit of a relevance to what we're talking about there. And there's some really good references that I've got a lot of this information for that go into way more detail, which I might get Andrew to share in the YouTube part itself later. So just stay tuned and watch the comment section after the show, and I'll get Andrew to.
I've found a brilliant website called Hit the Tone, Black Sabbath Paranoid Hit the Tone, which gives details of the history of his guitars. It also talks about Geezer Butler stuff and the drums and everything.
Yep. Okay. Well, we'll get a link to that too, Simon. We'll put that in the comments section of the YouTube link later on.
And
I've got one question. I've got one question. So why? And sorry if you already answered it. So why did Tony pick SGs? Was there a preference or
I think
a reason why?
Well, the first album, his main guitar was a Strat, and he was predominantly using the Strat right up until the last minute of recording, just before they went to record. So what happened is the Strat just failed, stopped working for some reason. Yeah.
Oh.
And I think he only ended up using it on Wicked World off the first album. Apparently the pickup stopped working, and he had a backup guitar, which was a 1960s Gibson SG Special with P90 style pickups, I think. And so basically what happened is it was a right-handed guitar, and he strung it for a left-handed guitar player, obviously. And that guitar he ended up swapping for that Monkey left-handed Special, which he had modified to get closer to the SG. But the SG just became his signature sound. And he found that worked better for him than the Strat. So he just stuck with the SG, mate. That's pretty much why.
And if you think about it, it's not that difficult to turn an SG upside down. You know, a Strat. I mean, a Les Paul, you can't do it because you just got the single cutaway and that's suddenly on the top, and that would be really weird. And you could do it with a Strat better, but the SG is because it's the same both sides. So you can turn it upside down, play it the other way, restring it. I know the knobs will be up here, but actually it's probably a bit just as easy to play it like that, isn't it? You're not getting some weird. Because it's the same both sides of the neck and things like that, you're not getting some strange sort of feel of the neck, or you can't get up into the upper reaches and stuff like that. So I could see why that worked. But apparently he didn't get on with a Les Paul. He didn't. He didn't like it as a guitar. So he went.
I think with his injuries and everything, maybe the SG was just it suited
lighter. Yeah,
felt comfortable on it, and they could set it up. To suit his style maybe or whatever, but obviously he worked very hard with his guitar tech on that main guitar for and obviously had guitars built for him moving forward. And it's like I don't know whether you heard us, Andrew, or not, but I said to the viewers and everyone in the chat that later after the show we'll throw in some links that some of this information is relevant on, and it deep dives even more than what I have, basically. Like there's a lot more information there.
No
problem. But we missed out on a couple of your rankings there, mate, and we haven't got to Fairies Wear Boots yet. We left that. We just thought we'd finish off with you if you came back on.
Okay, Rat Salad is a 5 out of 10, and Sonia alluded to that earlier in the chat when she was a little bit upset with my Planet Caravan ranking, and she said that something that I thought you would have saved that ranking for Rat Salad. Yeah, look, rat salad's unusual. I don't know what you guys have said about rat salad. Maybe you can just sum up in a couple of sentences and tell me at least what your scores were, please. And Hand of Doom is 9 out of 10. And it's a classic, isn't it? And Electric Funeral, I gave that a 10 out of 10 because the tonality that Tony was playing, especially, is really, really good. And one of the great things that I like about these albums that we talk about, guys, is that they don't reveal everything in the first couple of songs, do they? You know, they always hold a couple of tricks back, you know, and if you're smart enough or got a good ear, you can pick it up on your first couple of listens. But certainly, when you develop or hear something, or when someone gives you a bit of information, go, okay, well, that makes sense. But for a second album, phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh well,
so what did you guys give Rat Salad?
Rat Salad, I gave a 9, mate.
Oh, Simon.
I gave it an 8. I tell you, the reason why I gave it an 8 is because you know me and my programming and bloody blah. Well, I like the fact that it's just. I like the fact, one, it's 2 minutes 30, so it's short. I like the fact that it's good. I also think that it's also a bit of a palate cleanser. You know, it's a bit of a. It's like the Planet Caravan thing, where you know, track 3 is just a bit of a change. We often see this, don't we? You get to the second last track and you've got a kind of a bit of an oddity or something a bit different,
some weirdness going on,
some weirdness or whatever. I think it's, I wouldn't skip it, and I think it's fine. And as I say, it's only 2.5 minutes long, and I didn't skip it the time I listened to this album for 3 or 4 times. I never skipped it and never thought that it should be a skip. I thought it programs well in that space, and kind of, because if you just had another doom-laden riff thing, it's just all doom-laden riff things, I think is what, and I think, the interesting thing about this era of rock music is that variety is one of the key things, They're not too afraid of throwing in a sort of weird little number or something like that. So, that's so, which is why I gave it an 8, because I think it does its job in that position well on the album as a palate cleanser.
Have you guys done Fairies?
We have not. No.
Oh, okay.
We left that for you. Yeah, because we wanted to go through this one, because I think this is an extremely important song on the album, and probably. If you guys want to dive into it now, I'm happy. Let's get into it while you're still live, Andrew.
Yeah, please do.
Fairies Wear
Boots.
Wow, that guitar intro. I love the delay effect. It gives that spooky energy and vibe. And I love how he double tracks it after the first few passes. He comes in with the double tracking, playing the intro again together. He just fills out that sound. The bass playing is incredible. The sound he has sets a spooky vibe. The song, for me, is the ultimate Black Sabbath journey. It's got delicate, it's got heavy, it's got power sledging, it's got intensity. It's all done with class and incredible talent. Like, it's phenomenal. There's chemistry as a band, which is we've highlighted about in their performances, but there's so much chemistry in this. This is obviously a live take, guys, and they've just had a few overdubs on. It's incredible. There's no dropping in and out on this song and trying to fix things. It's a one take performance, and they've kept it. It's phenomenal. The double track guitar solos, how they entwine together, looping together. They stray away from each other. They come back. They stray away. They come back. At around 3 minutes 35, it's just this epic moment where the band bring it back from that journey. And Bill Ward is just incredible in this song. He's just incredible. There's so much dynamics, and he's playing. And Geezer Butler's like a magician on the bass. It's just phenomenal. It's just Tony Iommi is like the wizard of riffing, but classic solos. They're just like, they're classic solos. You can't listen to anyone cover this song, because unless they play the solo properly, it doesn't work, in my opinion, because they're just classic solos. And Ozzy, this is his highlight for me on this album. Ozzy's highlight. It's his best vocal on the album. Without a doubt, this is, the most amazing way to end the album. The outro to the song is hypnotic. I could go on for hours about this one particular song. I gave it 100 out of 10. It's probably the best Black Sabbath song, in my opinion, ever written. And it's in their early stages of their career. It's phenomenal. Simon.
Yeah. I mean, yes, finishes really. I agree with you about, the way that they build it and the way that they have just different bits all over the place. That I find it amazing. I've said, Andrew, a couple of times on this, that I like the fact that they just introduce another riff. All of a sudden they just introduce not particularly on here, but they do. As Brad said, there's lots of good, guitar solos, and they do a key change and they do a new riff. It's like, wow. Then they go back. And I think that's really good, and it keeps the interest, really keeps the variety going, because it clearly, you've got bass, drums, and guitar. That's a fairly plain palette. You've got to do things to keep it interesting, haven't you? And over 6 minutes. For me, this is a 9 out of 10 and never a skip. It's fantastic, and the way that they interchange and the way that they interact as a band is, you can tell it's, I agree with Brad. You can tell it's live, and it's fantastic. So I'm all about it. Mr. Walton.
Hand of Doom. Earlier, I heard you mention how it seems to be like maybe 2 songs or 3 songs into one. I always thought when I first heard it that it was 2 songs too, Simon. So I know we're talking about fairies, but I just wanted to reiterate your point that you made. I always just thought it was a clever song. It's just a clever song. Hand of Doom. But look, I have to agree with Brad. This song is a masterpiece. It's fantastic, and I have to echo what Simon likes to call about some songs. It's a song that's got swing. And some of these other songs on this album that was spoken about have got their doom going on. Got the doom, got the riffage. But this song's got the swing, and I think that's why I love it so much, because it's got that rock and roll swing, which is just under the beat. It's there. And Brad's just hit the nail on the head by saying Bill and Geezer Butler. Just the way that they just contribute to the song. They've saved their best for last too. It's phenomenal. Look, it's in their top 3 songs, obviously. But yeah, I'm going to give this the Brad score too, and I hope that I redeem myself for a couple of those other songs. Look, the album's a great album. Don't get me wrong; it's a masterpiece, and I'm glad that we've picked it. And I'm sorry that we've had to be upset with the droppages in and out, because, but never mind. We've got other Black Sabbath albums we can rank, because there's some other masterpieces there, isn't there? But look, I love it. 20 out of 10. It's a Brad score.
Excellent, guys. Well, with all the technical issues we've had, I think it's still been a great show. And everyone in the chat's enjoyed it. Good. There's a lot more stuff that I would love to, share with you about this particular album, especially with Tony's gear and all the stuff. But I'm going to fire Andrew the links that I used. He can post them underneath in the comments section after the show of the card of the YouTube link. And I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. And I've enjoyed reading everyone's thoughts on it. And
if you've got more information there, don't throw it away. Keep your notes, and might be a good topic for a midweek special coming up. If you've got some more information there that you want to share, because obviously people in the chat are digging the topic, so why not?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, for me, it was such an interesting album to dive into. I mean, because I obviously had to obviously go through and find out all this information that they're giving you guys, because it's not stuff I knew. I had to go research a lot of this stuff, and there's just some amazing reads there that we could go on for hours and hours and hours about. There's one in particular that I think everyone needs to go and watch is Tony Iommi being interviewed on Gibson TV.
Yes,
that's a mandatory watch. And that's fairly recent. I think that was done last year.
Oh, last year,
yeah. And that's a mandatory for any Black Sabbath fan. If you haven't watched that, then you need to go and view that immediately after the show. Even
can I ask you guys a question before we go and before you wrap up? And think you can think about it while you're doing this, because your top 3 Black Sabbath albums before we go. That I'd love to hear what my co-hosts think as far as their top 3, and obviously everyone else in the chat. And you can, if you want, include Ronnie James Dio. Because he's the only one. I've had a couple of other guys, but I'd be interested to hear what your other 2. Can
I make it top 4 instead of top 3? It's going to be a hard one for top 3 for Sabbath for me. We've lost Andrew again.
Ian Gillan. You know
that album was not the greatest, unfortunately.
No. Do you know the funny story about the Ian Gillan album? This is just priceless. So when he joined for that one album, and I don't know whether Spinal Tap got it from this, but this is where they got the Stonehenge thing, right? And they had a full-size Stonehenge built as like the stage set, made out of fiberglass. Huge, great, I mean, it's enormous, it's like, I don't know where they thought they were going to be able to play with it, doing it. But anyway, they had this huge kind of Stonehenge set.
Yeah.
And Black Sabbath albums are, Brad.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry,
you're back, Andrew?
Yeah, you're back. Sorry, Andrew. I was just telling. Have you heard? Do you know about the Ian Gillan story when he joined Black Sabbath? Oh, he's gone again. So anyway, so they had this Stonehenge thing built, and of course they rehearse and it's all fine. But when it comes to the first gig, he first of all they've hired these dwarves, right?
Yeah.
So he said we went on stage and he said, so we can only get a bit of this stage set on because you can't get the whole of Stonehenge on any stage ever anywhere. And he said that it started off and one of the dwarves is on top of one of these Stonehenge stones like this. And he said the real problem was that the stage had filled up to this height with dry ice, right? And he said, I've got a book with the lyrics in down by my feet. And clearly in rehearsal, that's fine. But when he said, and when I have to sing a line, and then I have to disappear into the dry ice, come back up and sing the next line. This dwarf standing on this, on the top of Stonehenge screaming is just priceless.
Yeah.
Absolutely priceless. Priceless.
Yeah, look, that Ian Gillan era of Black Sabbath is not the greatest in my opinion.
No. That's funny.
And unfortunately, I don't think Ian Gillan took it seriously either in that point in his career, but there's probably another show in that. We could maybe discuss that. But I'm going to have to give my rankings. I would say Paranoid. I'm just looking at the albums because it's probably going to change. Paranoid, Volume 4. And it's like a coin flip between Black Sabbath or Sabbath Bloody Sabbath for me. That's a tough one, man. Top 3. It's always hard to do a top 3 of a band I love so much. So.
Well, you said 4. What's your top 4, Simon?
Oh, well,
and while you're thinking of your 4th one, Simon can give us his top 4.
I'm fine. Well, I'm with Brad. Paranoid, Master of Reality, Volume 4, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
Yeah,
my top
The-
4. That
probably
era,
my
that
four,
era, I
yeah,
think, is the best era.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm Paranoid, Volume 4, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and I have to go for Heaven and Hell because I was, when I was a young
Your
boy.
era.
Yeah, absolutely. That album, and Def Leppard's High and Dry and
Let's do let's do Heaven and Hell one session. We have to do that. We have to. Oh man, it's great stuff on that.
Me a penny,
Yeah.
and I'll make you a dream. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
He's getting overexcited. Quick, nurse, nurse.
What for a little fellow,
mate.
little guy, man.
And do you realise right up until the very end, mate, he sung better than most singers do in their 20s. You know, right up until before he even passed away, his last performances were just he'd be backstage coughing up blood, and he was still singing like a fine wine. It just got better. It's phenomenal.
The inventor of this, the inventor. Yeah.
Good
man,
Catholic
Heaven
boy shouldn't be doing that, Andrew.
It's all right. I'm protected. Yeah, Heaven and Hell's a masterpiece. I love it. Oh, Neon Knights, Lady Evil, Heaven and Hell. Here, I'm going to play a little bit. We'll get. Hold on.
Don't play.
Sharon's going to be after you. She's going to be coming
Just
after
hold
you
on.
with a
Listen
big
to this.
stick.
This is this.
Big
Hold
stick.
on. Come on. Hold on. Just let me do this. Just check this out.
Can't hear it.
Turn the speaker towards the thing.
Protectors of the realm. Or something like that. It's been a while, man.
Yeah, man, what an album. What an album.
He's off.
Mate, this album's phenomenal too. Don't get me wrong. I'm sorry. Shit, it's your show. We're taking it. We're taking it somewhere else. You crashed your party.
No. It's still a relevant topic, mate. It's still Black Sabbath, man. It's still there. It's
yeah.
I mean, for me, they're like it's like doing the David Lee Roth, Sammy era. It's the same for me. I love both eras of Black Sabbath. I can't, I love them.
I agree. Yeah, look, I agree with you. But what's really interesting though is that Black Sabbath fans don't get what's the word that Simon likes to use? What's the word? Strident in their views. You know.
Oh, they don't get exercised about it, do they?
No.
No.
Black Sabbath fans are. Oh, okay, yeah. From my experience,
We don't have that eras thing, do you? Oh, the Aussie era or the Ronnie. You just have like Black Sabbath did a lot of
Black
albums.
Sabbath.
They had a few
And they're
different
cool.
singers.
Yeah.
They were just blessed that they managed to get two phenomenal front people and the people that followed Sabbath just accepted it and moved on. It's like AC/DC.
Yeah.
When Ron Johnson took on, it became their most successful album, and no one really jumped up and down.
It's funny, isn't it?
And arguably done their best albums with their new lead singers. There's an argument there. Heaven and Hell, blew, was a chart success. Simon, and what 1980 that album came out, 79, 80?
Yeah.
Yep. 80, I think.
Oh yeah. Yes, it's just the peculiar world of Van Halen. These things are really important in anybody else's world. Anybody else, I'm a Deep Purple. Went through the David Coverdale era.
Yeah.
It's like they were just Deep Purple with a different singer. Off we go. Is the album any good? Is the only criteria for it. Not necessarily who's doing it. It's a Glenn Hughes. So. No,
What did you do in the weekend? Oh, I spent 5 hours doing M's on Sammy Hagar versus David Lee Roth.
Yeah. That's a big cul-de-sac, isn't it?
I mean, I just never understood it, but maybe that's another show in itself, guys. We can do, the success of a band that just continues on with whether it's with one singer or not. It's can sometimes be the new energy in a band that makes it even better. In some cases, in my opinion. So, but Sabbath. I mean, look, we're talking about this era of Aussie was predominantly where they just were growing as musicians.
Yeah.
And then but by the time they got to DA, they'd already done 10 albums. It was like, for me, Never Say Die, their last album is phenomenal. I love it. I wouldn't say it's the best Sabbath album, but I love it because I know that it was the last album with Ozzy. They got him back in to do the last album because I think he was out of the band before they did that album.
Yes.
And, so that was phenomenal that they got him back in. They finished off on a high note. It's not, like I said, it's not a crappy album to finish the career with Ozzy either, and Ozzy went on to do his own thing as well. We know that. He went on and became highly successful in his own right as a solo artist as well. So, you can only say good things about that, like well done, Ozzy, and well done, Black Sabbath, for moving on with Ronnie James.
Yeah. Well, Ozzy had to go though, didn't he? Because he was having some issues, didn't he? And you can't blame the rest of the band for wanting Simon to continue having or seeking a career. And look, if Led Zeppelin had decided to do the same thing, we don't know. We could be sitting now doing another 20 Led Zeppelin albums if they decided to carry on. No.
They did. Remember, they did gigs. They did gigs with Jason Bonham.
Yeah.
Nobody. I think you accept those gigs. It's just. I don't think. I think it's. I think it's a pointless and worthless exercise. We talk about the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones have had 3 eras of guitarists. 2 eras of bass players. Nobody. I'd say it's a joke, but it clearly is a joke. The Brian Jones era is different to the Mick Taylor era, which is different to the Ronnie Wood era. Now, none of them are better or worse. They're different. There's a different dynamic between Keith and Mick than there was between Keith and Brian, and there is between Keith and Ronnie. But they're not. I think probably they made their classic albums with Mick Taylor, with Brian more than with Ronnie, but. Live and all of that is still valid. So, I don't think that people are going to think. Of course, the Rolling Stones are inferior since Bill Wyman left.
Look at the Beatles. When they got the new Paul McCartney, and they still continue to do well.
Wow. That's a controversial one. So, guys, thanks for letting me go through and present this record. I really enjoyed it. Reminded me of picking up my first guitar, and was one of the bands that I was heavily into at the time. And Tony Iommi was a big influence. And like I said, I haven't listened to this Paranoid record, in a year and a half at least, maybe 2 years. So it's been great. And I'll pass it over to my co-host to say thank you to everyone in the chat, because I've just closed my chat now. So, Simon, have you got your chat open still?
I have got my chat open, yeah. And I can say, yes, thank you to Sonia. Hope that was good for you, Sonia.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Keith Campbell, who joined later. Robot Master Switch. The Dogper. Teresa. Maria D'Souza. Thank you, Teresa, for being here. Nelson Rodriguez. Ellen Forashine, of course. Thanks, Ellen. Hugh Caldwell. Mark Tanner. Brad. All over. Omnipresent Brad Cook. Of course, Warren. Stay safe, man. Stay well. Hugh Caldwell. What's we got going back? Arvin, of course. Mighty Arvin. Hope you're good, Arvin. I kept bombing in and out of my chat a bit. So let's see if I took Vintage Sounds as well. Vintage Sounds, Robot Master Switch, Deja Voodoo. That's all I've got in my chat because I skipped out of it and came back in, destroyed myself, came back in. But I know a lot of people from Johnny Bean and 7 over 8 and Caleb from Nerd Halen and Renus Pinkle and just trying to think of anybody else. Sorry, who?
Wolf.
Woof from the Dogpa. Yep. Verily and forsooth. It's all getting Shakespearean. So thanks all for joining. Fantastic, great show. And Sonia's up 3:30 a.m. in Texas. So she's above and beyond the call of duty.
So thank you, Sonia.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you for hanging out with us. And sorry for the technical issues, guys, but you guys are awesome. We'll just continue and hopefully, we'll avoid these issues in the future.
Robot Masters which said, "I'm excited for when this channel gets to gent."
Yeah.
Do you?
Awesome.
Gent? Is that British blues? Is that British blues, Robot Masters? Just asking.
Yeah. We might have a show on Saturday. I don't know what we're doing Saturday. Are we doing are you still in lockdown, Brad?
Yes. Well, restrictions are lighter, but I'm still pretty much not able to work at the moment.
Okay. Well, hang. If you guys haven't already done this, just hold on. If you guys haven't already done this, please subscribe to Brad there at Instagram. Brad Cook Music.
Yay.
And there is Simon. Please subscribe to Simon there. It's Simon Williams 33. If you can whack some subscriptions there. And while you're there too, throw this rat bag a sub.
Yes. The Bumblebee man.
He's sharing a lot of his Bumblebee.
Cool.
Well, look, we might do a midweek special. We'll sort something out. I haven't picked an album for next week, guys. So stay after in the green room, and we'll have a chat about that if that's okay. And then Simon and Brad will announce the album that we're going to do on their Instagram. So that'll make you guys, at least if you don't have an Instagram account, have.
Well, we've lost you again.
Is he gone? He's good. In mid magic trick.
He's in the midst of closing the show, and the poor bugger's gone
again. Oh dear.
And you know what the worst part about that is, Simon, that we can't actually go until he gets back on to close it. So, yes. Who is the next pick anyway? It's Andrew's pick.
It's Andrew's pick, yeah.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what he's going to pick out. There's some really cool stuff coming out in the future that we're going to have to do some shows on too, I think.
Did you discuss yesterday what your next Van Halen thing is going to be?
Well, I think the next Van Halen show we're doing is going to be Kurt's going to talk about his time with Tom Weber and the tricks he's learned, and that's a whole show. And I encourage everyone in the chat to jump on that and be interactive and ask as many questions as you want from Kurt, because he's learned a lot and he wants to share it. He wants to share that knowledge. So please do.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
All right, say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye, guys. Goodbye, everyone in the chat. Take care. Stay safe. See you. Hope you're all right. Bye.
See ya.